Hi, my name's Cordy, this is my lead, and what I want you to imagine is that I'm stood behind you right now and sort of just talking quietly in your ear. And today we're going to talk about the loopers of the HX Stomp Helix and a sort of quick guide how I might use them, a few tips along the way. Hopefully it might be vaguely interesting. Hopefully you'll be able to see what's going on the actual thing. And so let's just dive straight into it and talk about. Generally, I like to place my looper after the amp and towards the very end of the chain, and that means that when I'm running a loop, I can turn on drive pedals and stuff and not necessarily have the thing affected. If you turn on a drive pedal after a loop, obviously that will affect what's happening in the loop, and kind of that's maybe not what you're going for. So here I'm running I've got this gap here which I've made for a looper. So first thing to say is stereo or mono, depending on where you are in the chain. If you're going after reverbs and delays and after the amp, you probably want it in stereo. So you've got options for a 1 switch or a 6 switch looper. I'm not going to talk too much about the shuffling looper here. I've done other videos on that. So let's go first of all with 1 switch looper. This is essentially like a ditto, and what you want to do is place it and then assign it to an empty switch. So if you hold on the switch you want, and I've got my 1 switch looper here. The way that I run my Helix is in snapshot mode along the bottom and stomp mode at the top. You can change this in preferences if you want to. Global settings, foot switches, and what I'm running here is stomp and snap. We're basically running things like a ditto. So to start your loop, you press it and then you press it again to stop recording, and then you can overdub with 1 extra switch. Press again to stop overdubbing. Double tap to stop the loop. Press again to start the loop. Hold a press to undo. So I've now lost all of that overdubby stuff. I think I can probably redo it if I hold again. Yeah, so hold again to redo, so I can take that off. And now if I overdub again from this point, I'll clear that old loop. So again, double press to stop the loop, press once to start it. You can hold it to undo, and then hold again to redo. And then if you hold long after a double tap, you clear that loop. So that's the 1 switch looper, and that's kind of my quick overview of what that does. Now remember, there was also a 6 switch looper. So what happens here effectively is when you press the looper, you're brought to this screen, and so you can see it's a little bit more complicated. Record starts over here. So here we can start a loop. And I think it should automatically be listening because it says overdub in. And if I press this button again, it stops listening, so I can just play. I can use this exit button to go and put on other. And then press the looper again to get back into this looping kind of interface. So what else happens here? You can stop the loop here. If you press record on this button here, you will clear that loop, so be aware of that. If you want to start the loop again, you can just press play. Now obviously reverse and forward will do this. Reverse, press again for forward. really nice feature for kind of doing this kind of thing. Let me try and do something. So I've just overdubbed that in reverse, and now when I go back forward, you'll hear there's washy kind of reverse parts in there. Now the undo obviously does undoing. Play once will mean you just play the loop once, so if I put that on, you're basically sort of just triggering the loop to play once. And then the other thing is this half speed, which will drop things in tempo down half the speed, but also in pitch. So if we listen, and what that means is that we could record over this, and once we chuck things back up to full speed, that will also be put up double speed and up in pitch as well. So here we listen now once I go back to full speed. Okay, so that's essentially how the 6-button looper works. Now, if some of those features seem cool to you, so like the reverse I really like, and there's also definitely times where I'm liking that sort of twinkly stuff, there are other things you can do. So I'm just going to record this loop a second. So what if you wanted to reverse or half speed a loop, but you're only using a 1-switch looper, or you're using the HX Stomp? Well, let me show you what you can do. So I'm going to exit this looper, and I'm going to go back to the 1-switch looper. You see we've got this button free here. What you can do is go into the command center, select this empty button, and you can actually find the HX looper, and you can change the behavior of this button to do some of those cool things. So reverse forward, for instance, is one that I like to use. So I've just gone HX looper, reverse forward, and then when I come back to here, let me try this. So you can see that I've now got access to those same features from the 6-switch looper, but I've also got the old behavior of the ditto looper, which I kind of prefer to work with. It's a bit less confusing for me in some ways, but if I want those features from the 6-button looper, I can just use the command center and put them on an empty button, and that works really well. So hopefully that's vaguely useful. I'm going to try and play you out now with a backing track that was inspired by that loop just there. I haven't recorded it yet, but hopefully it'll be something half decent. But that's how I use the looper. That's just some kind of tips. In terms of generally practicing looping, I think the real key is to learn to start and finish a loop in time. So what I would do is practice this 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and play with your button hit as well. So what I'm doing there is I'm literally playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 with my hand as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's just a general tip about how to practice looping. The Helix looper isn't infinitely long. It's nowhere near as long as like a ditto looper, so for me it works best to do shorter loops like this sort of thing, rather than trying to do whole verses and choruses. Hopefully that's vaguely useful. Let me know in the comments if there's other things you do with the looper, or something I've missed here that is worth knowing. That's just my thoughts on the loopers. The shuffling looper is a slightly different thing, super creative as well, but isn't exactly the same concept as these. So this was just a guide if you're wanting to try and get into the loopers of the HX Stomp or the Helix or the Pod Go. That's how they work. Cheers.